of this grand jury, 30-year-old Emily Kors, not only started speaking to the media, but started speaking to the media about exactly what you can't do, deliberating, discussions. Take a listen to this sound from CNN.
Did you recommend charges against Donald Trump?
I really don't want to share something that the judge made a conscious decision not to share. I will tell you that it was a process where we heard his name a lot. We definitely heard a lot about former President Trump, and we definitely discussed him a lot in the room. And I will say that when this list comes out, there are no major plot twists.
Right now, okay? As someone that represented the former president, as someone that's done a lot of criminal cases, the case is over. You cannot have deliberations of a grand jury discussed while another grand jury is impaneled to consider the criminal charges that came up in the report that this grand jury four-person was in charge of. While she was trying to, by the way, she also did artwork. Do we have a picture of that? Stick this up. This is what she was doing when people came in. On the left is Mark Short, Vice President Pence's lawyer. On the right is supposed to be Lindsey Graham. This is what she's showing this to people. This is in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And this is supposed to be a criminal proceeding. You can't do this. It makes us look like Venezuela again, like a third world country, that we can't operate a proceeding that follows due process. When you're talking about a proceeding that would take someone's liberty interests away, which is what, as Jordan said, it's a criminal proceeding, you have to play by the rules. The judge needs to get control of this matter. I would go into federal court with a motion to quash the entire proceedings. Maybe you start in state court, but in the case that I argued, one of the cases, we had four that I argued for President Trump, but one of them, Trump versus Vance, I'm holding it in my hand, says you can go to federal court on these issues, and that's exactly what I would be doing. Now, the whole process, in my view, has been taken. This is just the beginning. So if you're listening to us on radio, call your friends and tell them to listen in. If you're watching us on any of our social media platforms, share it with your friends right now. This is really important. We're going to bring in the lawyers that have represented this president and have done these proceedings, both as prosecutors and as defense lawyers.
The giddiness, we'll play some of these sound bites. The giddiness about potentially indicting people and people going to jail. This is who they chose to be the jury foreperson, a 30-year-old. Again, Emily Kors. So we're using the name because she went out to the media. No one shouldn't have to. She decided to,
not, but she did.
She decided to make this decision to do lots of interviews, and of course she was going to get these kind of questions, and she answered them in a way she shouldn't have, to say the least.
Forewoman of the Georgia grand jury that investigated possible election interference by former President Trump is talking publicly about it.
Did you recommend charges against Donald Trump?
I really don't want to share something that the judge made a conscious decision not to share. I will tell you that it was a process where we heard his name a lot. We definitely heard a lot about former President Trump, and we definitely discussed him a lot in the room. And I will say that when this list comes out, there are no major plot twists waiting for you.
Her interviews come unusually before the district attorney has announced how to proceed. It also follows a judge's partial release of a report last week, which states that jurors believe one or more witnesses might have lied during testimony. I've
never heard of a grand jury foreperson speaking this way. Now, this is a fact-finding grand jury. This is not a charging grand jury, but even still, I've never seen anything like it. If I'm the prosecutor, I'm not sure that I want this media tour taking place because I'm confident that Donald Trump's lawyers are going to use this, just based on what I was hearing last night from people, to try to argue that this is prejudicial in terms of what she's saying.
I don't think that there are any giant plot twists coming. I don't think that there are any, giant, that's not the way I expected this to go at all. I don't think that's in store.
Sources close to former President Trump's legal team tell CBS News they are monitoring what the forewoman has been saying, but they know at the end of the day, it's the district attorney who will make the final decision on whether to move forward. Former President Trump continues to deny any wrongdoing, and this all comes as he's mounting his 2024 presidential campaign. This all comes as he's mounting his 2024 presidential campaign. This all comes as he's mounting his 2024 presidential campaign.
Soundbite from the jury foreperson, the grand jury foreperson. This is Emily Kors, who decided to do a trove of interviews yesterday with CNN and MSNBC and local outlets as well. She's asked on CNN, everybody wants to know about President Trump. And she gets real giddy and real bizarre. Take a listen.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
You know, I'm going to go right to Andy Economou. I mean, this is disgusting. This is the foreperson of a grand jury that's doing a special report going to another grand jury about indicting people, including the former president possibly, and she is giddy and excited because she wants to swear in the president and say, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, Mr. President?
I think that's an outrageous act of silliness and giddiness on the part of a very silly woman who is going to be getting her jollies out of swearing in Donald Trump, who joked with Lindsey Graham about whether she should wear a Santa hat, and who disclosed whether Mark Meadows took executive privilege or other things that might have been constitutionally permissible for him to do. This is a bitter blow, in my view, to the state of Georgia's prosecution against anybody who appeared before this special purpose grand jury. She disclosed the deliberations. She said what they talked about. She said what they discussed. She said she wanted President Trump to be there so that she could swear him in and get that one moment of fame. She talked about other things that were totally inappropriate. I think she violated Judge McBurney's order not to discuss anything that was deliberative in the content of the grand jury. If I was Donald Trump's lawyers, I would be heading to the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, seeking an injunction against any further prosecution or any attempts at prosecution in Fulton Superior Court by the district attorney.
I will tell you this. I think that in a situation like this, a motion to quash, a motion to compel the stopping of this process on all proceedings in federal court under the Trump versus Vance case, which we argued is appropriate. But I want to be clear here. This foreperson of the grand jury knew she was not supposed to discuss deliberations. Not only did the judge say it, their manual that they get when they become a juror also said this.
Yeah, so in the Georgia grand jury handbook, the oath that they have to take says you as foreperson of the grand jury for the county of Fulton, you shall keep the deliberations of the grand jury secret unless called upon to give evidence thereof in some court of law in this state. So she had to take an oath that says she would keep all these deliberations secret. And then it goes on to say violation of your oath or misconduct as a grand juror can subject you to contempt of court or criminal prosecution with penalties of imprisonment for up to 5 years and fines up to $1,000 or both. So when you violate that oath, there are real repercussions that happen.
Andy, I wanted to go back on this because it's very clear in the manual and she can be held in contempt. By the way, I would be seeking to hold her in contempt. Now, who gets to do that? Who gets to bring the contempt action? The court could do it on its own motion.
Do it sua sponte, that's right, on its own motion, or the district attorney could do it. Look, she has taken Fannie Willis's case, the DA's case, and turned it upside down, fruit basket turnover, because this opens the door for all kinds of motions, all kinds of activities, whether it be in state court or potentially, as you mentioned and I did, in federal court to stop this prosecution from taking place by violating her oath of office and disclosing the deliberations that went on in the grand jury and prejudicing potential targets, potential subjects, potential defendants in state court. This is an awful situation. If I was the district attorney, I would be beside myself right now.
I think that there's no way they can proceed in this way. But the idea that you're discussing deliberations when you're told not to, I'm not so worried about her. I mean, whatever the judge does to this foreperson, she's putting out her artwork of the witnesses she took while she was drawing witness artwork. I'm putting it up on the screen again. I mean, this kind of tells you the mindset of what we're dealing with. But Jordan, but her statements also speak to this, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account at Real Donald Trump. Georgia hearing now on OANN. Amazing. This was an overt act of furtherance of the conspiracy. So this is what they're charging with. This tweet saying there's a hearing on One America News. If you're not familiar, One America News. That's what they're indicting for. That's illegal. That's what they're saying right now. My God. Okay, so what a disaster. Starting from start to finish. Okay, so number one, they indicted Donald Trump before any of the jurors even voted on the indictment. Donald Trump set to be indicted before a grand jury even decides, according to soon deleted court documents. So they indicted him, then they posted it, then they deleted those documents, just to show you exactly how rigged this entire outcome was. Matt Gaetz calling for a motion to dismiss here, saying effectively DAs are now indicting before grand juries vote. Welcome to tyranny. And these are the indictments. And it just so happens, this is a crazy circumstance here, ladies and gentlemen. Just so happens that the same indictments that they posted earlier, and then they said it was an error, they were hacked. Oh yeah, baby. They were hacked. It just so happens that Donald Trump was charged with all those things. So that was the indictment.